G'day there! Today I want to share with you our new way that we're growing strawberries. And this isn't it that you see here, this is actually the way we've been growing our strawberries to date. We've been using an old watering can and also an old wheelbarrow. And although it looks pretty nice in the garden and you can see a lot of strawberries are coming through, we don't actually get to harvest a lot of them because we have a lot of issues with bugs. And in particular, we get a lot of issues with damage from millipedes and snails, and I'll take you in a little bit closer so you can have a bit of a look at what happens. So it looks like we've got some nice red looking strawberries under here. And unfortunately, when you go to pick them, you can see that they've been eaten out by the bugs. And sadly, this is what happens to pretty much all of our strawberries when they start turning red in this wheelbarrow. So to get any strawberries out of here, what we've pretty much had to do is resort to picking them when they're still kind of just starting to blush but not quite red. And unfortunately, that doesn't really give you that really nice, beautiful flavour that you get from your homegrown strawberries when they turn nice and red in the sun. So what I want to do is share with you the new way that we've started growing our strawberries. Here is our new method of growing our strawberries, and it is a vertical garden called a Mr Stacky. Now, there's a few different types of these vertical gardens around, and this is just one of them. And what these allow you to do is grow lots of strawberries in quite a small area. Now, we obviously have a lot of space around us to be able to grow here, but I don't want to take up a huge amount of room on my deck, and I find this vertical growing arrangement a really good way of getting lots of strawberries into quite a small space. There's a few features I'm absolutely loving about growing our strawberries like this. And one is the aesthetic. I've planted out the top pot with lots of beautiful flowers, and that gives a really lovely aesthetic to this pot. I've chosen the white one of these, but they do come in quite a few different colours, but I quite like the way that the colours of the flowers pop against the white. And the other thing that looks really lovely is when there's lots of nice red strawberries and the way that they look also against the white colour of the pot. The other thing I'm really loving about this design is the fact that it is on wheels. If I get down low, you can see that there's a bit of a gap underneath the pots, and the wheels keep it kind of propped up above the deck, and that means that you've got airflow underneath, and if there's any moisture, that moisture's not going to build up and then rot out your deck. These wheels also allow me to drag this around. That allows me to rotate the planter around every so often so that the shaded side can get into the sun. And it also means I can drag this under cover in the event that we're going to have a hailstorm and I want to protect the sensitive plants from the hail. Or even to drag it into the shade in the event that we're going to have one of those really hot baking summer days in the Aussie summer sun. Speaking of summer, I have heard from some people that they have trouble with these types of vertical gardens, with things like the drying out of the soil. Now for me, that's not a big deal because as you can see, this is up on my deck, nice and accessible, and it's just right there in front of me and I can see when it's dry and I just water it. The idea is that you water from the top, and then what happens is that water will filter down into the layers beneath. You can see how the water drips from these topmost layers and kind of filters down through each layer of pots until it reaches the bottom. But of course, the most important thing about growing our strawberries this way now is the fact that they're grown up here on the deck, away from the bugs, and being in this vertical garden, that also keeps things like the snails and slugs and millipedes and things like that out of the strawberries as well. And now we are actually getting a decent harvest of strawberries. So if you're looking for a new way of growing strawberries where you can avoid the bugs getting at them and actually get a bit of a taste yourself, maybe you want to consider giving some vertical gardening like this a bit of a go as well. Thanks for joining, and catch you later.